5, 4, 3, 2. Realtors, you're in the right spot.
We're going to do this together.
Welcome to the Leading Edge Podcast.
These mentors showed me a map of success.
This is the place for real estate pros like you to get better at running your business, balancing your life, and having happy clients.
Do you know how powerful you are?
And now your host, Eric Thompson.
What's up, everyone? It's your good friend, Eric Thompson. This is the Leading Edge Podcast, episode number 67. This one is special. This one is called Negotiating a Brokerage Sale. What you're about to listen to is an interview that I did with the one and only Scott Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. Scott is with Real Trends Consulting. He's a partner at Real Trends Consulting. Real Trends Consulting, they are the industry leader when it comes to mergers and acquisitions of real estate brokerages. So even if you're not an owner of a real estate brokerage, this is fascinating to understand the ins and outs of real estate brokerage sales, real estate brokerage valuations. It's super, super fascinating, interesting, insightful. So this is an interview that I did with Scott. This is an interview I did with Scott during our Alpha State group coaching mastermind. So also, guys, this is a little taste of the kinds of things that you would get inside of Alpha State. A lot of you are Alpha State members who are listening to this, but a lot of you are not. And so why not? Get signed up. Go to alphastateclass.com to get signed up. We do interviews like this all the time. So you not only get fun mindset lessons, great tools, tips, strategies to make you feel better, make you perform better, help your business be optimized because your mindset is optimized. We also do really fascinating interviews like this one. So I decided to give you this one here in the podcast to help you learn about this, help you learn about Scott's company, and also help you see what happens inside of Alpha State. So here you go. Enjoy this little snippet, this little tidbit, this little interview that I did with Scott. We'll take it away. Thanks so much for engaging with us, and enjoy life on the leading edge and enjoy this interview. Thanks. This off, right? So welcome to Alpha State on a Tuesday. So happy that you're here. And as you guys know, what we typically do on Tuesdays is we have amazing guests. Today is no different. We are going to have an amazing guest. His name is Scott Wright. And Scott, I will invite you on in just a moment. Scott is with a company called Real Trends Consulting. What they do is they help real estate brokerage owners with two things. They help them with valuing their company, right? So they work with the men and women who own real estate brokerages, and they help them understand what their company might be worth. And then they also help them with mergers and acquisitions. They've been doing this a long time. Scott works with a good friend of mine named Steve Murray, who's pretty much like a legend in the business. And Scott is also a legend in the business. And these guys are super unique in what they do and what they offer. And as you guys know, all month long, we've been talking about negotiation. So I thought how fascinating it would be to have Scott on to talk about negotiation specific to our industry and specific to a unique part of our industry. So without further ado, Scott, I'm going to invite you on. So here you come. And Scott is going to be here. Here he comes. The man himself.
Me?
Hey, Scott. Hey, it looks like you're muted, but there you are. How are you?
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Absolutely. Great to see you.
Great to see you too, Eric. And I tell you have to teach me how to do that 10 out of 10 coffee.
I will. Well, apparently I need to teach myself. Like it's not on point today, but we gotta step it up, right? Yeah. How's your coffee today, Scott?
You know what? Mine's about a 6 out of 10. I haven't quite reached that 10 out of 10, so that's why I'm always looking for feedback.
Got it.
I'm kind of a simpleton.
Haven't quite mastered the coffee yet, right?
No,
we all
not yet.
To do that. So, hey, Scott, I can't thank you enough for being here today. So fantastic of you to commit a little time to engage with us, and look forward to learning from you. And why don't we start with, just so people know, like where are you right now? Like physically, where are you located? You're in your home or in your office, and where is that? And
I'm in my office. We are located in Castle Pines, Colorado.
Yeah.
Which is, for people who don't know, it's about halfway between Denver and Colorado Springs, a little south of you, Eric.
Yeah.
We're at about 6,000 feet, and it's a beautiful, foggy, cold day here at Castle Pines. We had spring snow less than a week ago, which I'm sure you saw as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to that spring weather. But I'm in the office today. Steve's, down the hall, on the other side of the office, and we're just kicking it.
Yeah, getting after it, right? Love it. Yep. Okay, so let's jump in. Again, thank you. And everyone heard the intro, and you heard what Scott does. He helps brokerage owners, number one, understand the value of their company, and number two, help them with mergers and acquisitions. Things have been pretty active in your world, Scott. And so I thought it'd be interesting to start with, as you think about the clients that you've been helping recently, the brokerage owners you've been helping, the men and women who own these awesome companies, amazing companies, and helping them with transition, with the next steps, with selling their company. Like, what do they have in common? Like, what do these people have in common, the people that you're helping recently?
Well, that's a good question. We work with firms of all shapes and sizes. We work with independents, franchises, from one office, 5 agent firms to some of the largest in the country. We work with a lot of mastermind groups as well. So we get the honor of working with some of the best leaders in their respective markets. And so, we get a lot of exposure to broker owners of all shapes and sizes. And, if I had to pinpoint, common trait amongst most broker owners, at least most successful ones, is that they really understand the importance of culture in running a successful business. Listen, the truth is there's always a cheaper option out there. So in this truly hyper competitive market, it's just so imperative to work on the intangibles in order to maintain agent and employee loyalty. So that's really one of the key traits amongst all the successful broker owners that we have experience with.
That's so insightful, not surprising, but still super insightful. Like a terrific reminder. It's culture first, right? I mean, like, so often we focus on the numbers, of course, and yet it's really, you get the culture right, the numbers will happen, right? And so that's, any valuable company is going to have a great culture, is what I'm hearing you say. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Honesty, integrity, there's so many good traits good leaders have, good broker owners have. You just need to pour into your people, pour into training, coaching, development, the stuff that's going to keep people around. I mean, no matter what size your company is, try and have that small company feel, be accessible as an owner, be accessible to your people. We work with, one of my favorite clients. He runs a large, very, very large brokerage firm, with thousands, probably 4,000 or 5,000 agents. And he makes a point. He does a summer tour. It's called a summer tour. Every summer, he goes around to every single office and engages and interacts with the leaders in those offices, with the agents. Just makes himself available and personal to everybody. So it's super important. Culture is by far the most important trait any good leader in this industry has.
Absolutely. And I love what you just said. No matter the size of the company, make it feel small.
That's right.
What a great little nugget. That's a great takeaway.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's think about the sellers that you've been helping. These people who are selling their brokerage company. In many cases, they've spent years, decades building these companies. Now it's time for a transition. So when you go inside the mind of these people, in addition to the numbers, what's important to those people? I mean, of course, the dollar amount is important. We get that, but what else? Like, what else is important to these sellers?
Honestly, the most important thing to the majority of sellers is, and this ties back into culture, is their people. They want to make sure in a transaction that their staff, that their agents are taken care of. When they work, when they're selling their company, and they want to make sure that the buyer is a good cultural fit for their people. Does the buyer company have a strong culture? Does it have a similar culture? What's their reputation in the market? And the truth is, in most deals, there is a contingency-based earnout. And what that means is, listen, that when a broker owner sells their company, they're going to get some money up front, but a big slug of the money they get is paid out over time. And it's contingency based on their performance of the company, after the transaction is closed. So they want to make sure that their agents, that their staff are happy, that they remain productive over a period of 2 or 3 years, that they get paid out. So they want to make sure that, really the most important thing to them other than the numbers is that their people are happy, that they stay productive, and that they stay loyal.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And Scott, it's not uncommon for that broker owner to only get 10 or 20%, like on closing day, and then get the rest over a period of time. So they are heavily incented to make sure that company keeps performing, that the culture is still good and right, and people are together. And so yeah, that's a big deal.
Absolutely right, Eric.
Big deal.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's flip it around for the buyer. And all kinds of different buyers today. There are big franchise companies buying, and investment companies, small, regional companies buying, et cetera. So in addition to the number that they're going to pay, what's important to them? And I can almost predict you're going to say culture, but which is awesome. But what else is important to them other than the number they're paying? What do they look for? What do they look at when they evaluate buying a company?
Absolutely. And I'll start with this. So they're obviously looking for footprint. They want to strengthen their own companies either within their existing footprint or maybe going outside of their footprint. We don't ever recommend a buyer go outside of their market if it's not adjacent to their market. So they're looking to strengthen their presence. They're looking to strengthen their footprint either within their market or adjacent to their market. Maybe it's somewhere where they've tried to penetrate that they couldn't. So footprint's a big deal, but they're also looking for good leadership. They're looking for great leaders, not only at the C-suite level, that the owner, the rainmaker, whatever you want to call it, but also at the office level. They're looking for firms that have good office managers, good brokers, and individuals, men and women who agents are loyal to. They're looking for companies that have a great reputation, either within their existing market or in that footprint, adjacent to their market, where they're trying to grow. But like you said, Eric, they're looking for really good cultural fits. They're looking for companies that have very similar mindsets to theirs. They're looking for, like I said, good leadership. The last thing they want to do is acquire a company that's not a good cultural fit and disrupt their own chi, if you will, their own agent productivity. But also, they don't want to flip the apple cart of the company that they do acquire. They're putting some capital down. They've got a big investment in these companies that they're trying to acquire, and the last thing they want to do is go in and make these changes that are going to disrupt what made the company successful, what made them, they were interested in this company, what made them successful, what piqued their interest. They don't want to disrupt that. So they want to make sure it's a real good fit with their own company.
Yeah, got it. That makes total sense. So great leadership drives great culture, produces great results, which then gives them a return on their investment. So so that leadership is important. And I appreciate what you said about footprint. I'm just thinking any entity, any organization, whether it be a real estate company or anything else, who tries to overreach, go too far away, they just get diluted, right? And that usually
absolutely
doesn't work out.
It's tough too. I mean, especially if you're relying on your own team to go and start to integrate with a company they acquired that's too far away. It makes it difficult to do.
Absolutely. Scott, one thing I'm wishing I would have said up front is to put all this in context, that you and your partner, Steve Murray, you've done a lot of these, a lot. And you do a lot of valuations, like on a monthly basis. How many valuations are you doing, give or take?
I'd say, gosh, in the last couple of years, we've been averaging 15 to 20 a month. It's been a super active market on the M&A side, but not all of our valuations are for M&A. Sure. We do a lot of general consulting. We do estate planning, succession planning. Unfortunately, we've got the unfortunate circumstances of death, of shareholder disputes, of divorce. So on all those cases, you need a valuation as well. We've done probably close to 4,000 valuations in our company's history, focused on residential real estate. We've been advisor / broker to nearly 800 transactions of all shapes and sizes. So it's a busy time. We're seeing a lot of activity, and it's not slowing down.
Not slowing down at all.
Yep.
By the way, if anyone's curious, when you said M&A, that stands for mergers and acquisitions. I'm guessing most of you know that. Okay, so 800 transactions. All right, so I love that because that puts my next question in context.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you've been involved in a lot of negotiations. These are big, interesting, complex negotiations. Lots of moving parts, different personalities. These big, sometimes publicly traded companies they're the buyer, and this individual spent decades building this company. It's his pride and joy. He poured blood, sweat, and tears into it. Like, super interesting. So when these negotiations, when they go off track, what causes it? Like, commonly, what's the cause of the symptom of the negotiation just totally going sideways, getting off track? What causes it?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one of our biggest struggles as we work with, and mostly we represent sellers. So, we get entrenched in negotiation. Like you said, Eric, this mergers and acquisitions, it's a very emotional thing for sellers. Like, they've built their company from the ground up, and in addition to the numbers, it's an emotional event. One of the biggest things that we see that gets negotiations off track is what we call deal fatigue, which is really the biggest enemy of M&A, of mergers and acquisitions. And, the truth be told is the majority of broker owners have kind of sales backgrounds, right? They're amazing at sales. Not only, maybe they started out buying, listing and selling homes, but also with, they sell themselves to their people, right? They don't always have financial backgrounds. They don't always have legal backgrounds. And in a lot of transactions, they're all of a sudden entrenched in these financial and legal issues, and it's just a grind. It's exhausting. And when you go through the process of negotiating the initial terms, and then after that, going through the due diligence into, the purchase agreement, it's an area that they're not always comfortable with. And it takes a little while. It's a grind, and they're not used to it. It's always good to have good advisors, on your camp. But deal fatigue throws people off track, and a lot of time can be a breakdown in communication. Sometimes we see situations where either side is not transparent, whether it's on the financial side of things, the operational side of things, roles and responsibilities. A big no-no when you're going through the M&A process is to try and reprice a transaction, whether it's the buyer or the seller. If you agree to initial terms, there's nothing that's going to create more distrust than if you try and change those initial terms of a transaction. Distrust is so hard to repair, especially when you have two companies that really need to come together and work together well in order to have a successful, a successful merger. That's why it's really good to have a good intermediary when you're going through the M&A process. You can always blame the consultant, right? Because like you said, it's a very emotional event. It's good to have that middleman in there to blame if something gets, if there's some miscommunication, if there's something that wasn't, clearly conveyed. Have that middle person, because the last thing you want is to create that sense of distrust, which can either blow up a deal, or if a deal actually closes, there's still that underlying distrust that will, really affect, the culture and the cohesiveness on a go-forward basis.
Right. So you got to have trust. When in doubt, blame you. It sounds like so. Blame the consultant. No, but yeah, transparency is everything, and beware of deal fatigue. I think that's super insightful, because I'm just imagining that person going through that process and their eyes just glazing over by the time they're getting to the end of the multi-page purchase agreement, and they just want to close the deal and get their people excited, and they're just bogged down in all the legal and accounting and all the stuff, right?
That's exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so then the flip side of that will make this our last question. What makes for a really good negotiation, and maybe even like how do you start it right? Like, what are the ingredients to make sure that things go just super smooth and there's a great outcome, for not just on closing day a great outcome, but also for the subsequent years to come? what are the ingredients for that?
I know this is kind of simple, but really, the best outcome in a transaction in this industry or in any industry is when both the buyer and the seller believe that they are participating in a great deal, where they believe that they got that it's a fair transaction, not only on the price and terms, but that there's a common vision in executing the future goals of the company. Both parties just need to be excited. They need to be excited about the future in a transaction like this. We talked about the earnout. The sellers needs to continue to stay engaged. Buyers need to stay engaged. It's a partnership, and really a successful negotiation boils down to the fact where both parties are super excited after the transaction closes. The seller's excited to go tell their agents and their staff, we got this awesome partner that we're going to be working with, and I'm still going to be here. I'm super excited about, the opportunities and the tools that this partnership brings to us. And we're going to have a better next 12 months than we had over the last 12 months. And, the buyer really wants, they want to make, it's kind of like a recruit, right? They want to make sure that this partner is excited about what they have and what they're bringing to the table. So really a successful negotiation, a successful transaction, not only comes down to both the buyer and the seller thinking that they got great price, great terms, they're happy with what they got, but also that they're excited about the future. They're excited about, what each party brings to the equation. And they're looking forward to the vision that hopefully the buyer and the seller set forth before they announced it to everybody.
Right. Scott, I love this. I just love that a transaction as complicated as this, with all the legal stuff, all the accounting stuff, all the emotions, everything that, all the pieces, all the different people, really comes down to excitement. I mean, that's awesome. Is the buyer excited? Is the seller excited? That will cause a great outcome, which then takes us all the way back to how we started. There's got to be transparency for them to feel excited. There's got to be great culture, great leadership, all of those things. Scott, this has been awesome. So many good takeaways. I so
Likewise,
appreciate it.
It's been fun, Eric.
Everyone listening, and also Scott, know there are a lot of people who watch the recording of this. Real Trends and Scott and his partner Steve with Real Trends Consulting. Amazing resource. What website should people go to, Scott, if they want to learn more about what you and Steve do?
realtrendsconsulting.com is our website, and you're welcome to shoot me an email. It's just swright@realtrends.com, swright@realtrends.com.
Yeah, and everyone, I can't even start to tell you all what I've learned from Scott and Steve Murray, his partner, about this industry, about the brokerage industry, what it takes to run a successful company, the trends, the direction, what's happening, valuation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm way smarter because of Scott and his partner, Steve. So if you want to also gain some wisdom, go to that website that Scott just said and engage with their content. It's really good stuff. Scott, you're the man. I look forward to seeing you in person. You guys got the conference coming up. That's going to happen?
Yes, it's happening. Everybody is just really excited to get out and start rubbing elbows with their peers. The conference is taking place June 27th at the Broadmoor. I think we're actually at the point now where there's a waiting list. We're waiting for the government to open things up a little bit more so we can increase capacity, but people are just pumped to get out and see one another face to face and get excited about it. And we're going to have a great lineup. So it's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, it's always amazing. Yeah. Scott, thank you so much. Say hi to Steve for me.
Will do.
And, everyone, thank you for watching. All of you here live, all of you watching the recording. So appreciate it. Have an amazing day, and we'll see you all really soon. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Eric. Take care.
Bye.